Well, Ulysses, the Rays did what they had to do. Absolutely critical, winning a series against the Baltimore Orioles over the weekend.
And this is going to be a happy pod because what we saw this weekend really should give some momentum to the team and to the fan base. So let's dive deep right here.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And you can email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. That includes if you're interested in advertising with the program or having us do a broadcast live from your place of business. We are open to all ideas there. Well, we previewed the Orioles Rays series and explained how it may very well have been the most critical series of the season, at least up to this point. And the Rays did not disappoint. They took advantage of a very important moment over the last three games. Game one wasn't so good, but game two bounced back, in game three talk about ending on a really high note. And as you alluded to, the momentum of what Drew Rasmussen put together hopefully propels this team for the rest of the month and the rest of the season, for that matter.
Definitely the winning the series, the head-to-head matchup, that was important. That was critical because if you're a Rays fan and you're telling, you're kind of making fun of the Orioles right now, like, oh, they won't be around in September. You sound exactly like a Yankee fan or a Red Sox fan sounded in 2008 when they talked about the Rays. So don't be that person. Yeah. Take them seriously. They're a good team. So winning this season series was very critical. It was very important because at the end of the day, there is no game 163. And you've already lost the head-to-head matchup with the Twins. I forgot to look at the Mariners series, actually. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, but I don't.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy. I do not have that information off the top of my head.
I don't either.
I know that they've beaten up on the Yankees over the last week or so. So
yeah. So I don't know the Rays Mariners matchup head to head, but yeah, this is a playoff hopeful team. So you need to get that head to head matchup. They did. That's exactly what they wanted. And you heard the interviews. You heard BA, Dwayne. You heard Rasmussen. You heard Kluber. You heard, my goodness, everybody was telling, in front of the mic, this is important. We need to win this. Taylor Walls also came out saying, like, we need to win this series. It's very important. And they did. And that's so refreshing to see this team just have a goal and go get it. Like, that is so great to see because they've been decimated by injuries. And so it is an easy excuse saying, well, they can't do what they should because of the injuries. We've heard that so many times this year, Kevin. So having the injuries and then yet getting the W, and of course, I can't believe it's been 4 minutes and we haven't even talked about it, but Drew Rasmussen.
Right.
That was so cool, man. That was really, really good. That was Greg Maddux-esque what he was doing on Sunday.
Talk about working the corners, the edges, having the fastball working the entire course of the game. And just over the course of, I look away and then look back, and Drew Rasmussen now has 4 pitches that he can utilize. That we were talking about him as a 2-pitch pitcher. So him for putting that together. And don't look now, but Drew Rasmussen, if he continues, not saying he's going to go out and throw near perfection every game, but he's been really, really on a roll as of late. And I would not be surprised if at the end of the day, he might finish with a lower ERA than Shane McClanahan, depending on the direction of where these two pitchers are going as of right now. But that was so big for Drew. And, it was great to see too of, we've gotten on him before or previously about, he doesn't rack up a lot of strikeouts, and there's going to be a point where he gives up some pretty hard contact. But we didn't see that, obviously, when you're putting together a performance like that. But when there was contact made, it was weak pop outs and weak ground balls. What's funny about that start, though, is I had mentioned it on Friday. We might see a Brett Phillips moment, and we almost did, where Brett Phillips almost took Drew Rasmussen's head off, hitting a ball up the middle. Luckily, it was snagged up and a play was made. But, this is the type of output that you need. And going into New York, but more than that, and really this series, I think we might have a little bit of a budding rivalry here between the Rays and the Orioles. I mean, you have game one where there was arguing and challenges. Game two, the Pete Fairbanks benches clearing snafu that happened. And, maybe Pete Fairbanks was blaming the wrong person there. I don't know, but I totally understand where he's coming from. You can't tell a pitcher like that you call time at the very last moment. That can lead to an injury. That can lead to 1,000 things. And then game three, of course, what Drew Rasmussen put out there. So this could be the start of a very fun back and forth over the next couple years, just like we saw the Rays in 2008 getting a back and forth with the Red Sox to some extent.
And we saw it 2020, 2021 with the Blue Jays. That kind of rivalry kind of going up.
Too, but
but
with the Yankees.
Yankees Red Sox has always been there, but with the Blue Jays then being competitive at the same time with the Rays, like that was nice to see, in the wild card game in 2020, of course, and then 2021, the whole Baraki, Kiermaier, Steelgate, the Cardgate thing.
Yeah.
Like that's cool to see. And now with this, Orioles team that, frankly, they're not going to take it. And they're not going to just shy away from Pete Fairbanks screaming at Trinos, who, by the way, scream at the umpire. But again, if Fairbanks is kind of crazy, like Chirino said, everybody, I think the quote is, everybody knows how wild that guy is around the league. So if everybody knows around, it's, again, Fairbanks apologized kind of post game, saying like, "Hey,
Look,
it's the heat of the moment."
A guy like that that's gonna spark some fire for your own team, and whether it's intended or not intended, strike fear in the opposition, because he came back with 100-mile-an-hour at the top of the zone. Like he's got that. We always said this about Pete Fairbanks is he's got that closer mentality, the closer look. We don't know if he's going to be handed those reins yet, but he's got, if you're to build a closer lookalike in MLB The Show or on a TV series or a movie, you would make him look like Pete Fairbanks.
And it's important that you back up that attitude with results, because then you look kind of flaky, talking a big game and then the results aren't there. So I'm happy that the results were there and he was able to get the strikeout. But let's be honest, like that's completely on the umpire. I think it was Andy Fletcher behind the, like, don't grant. I mean, you could really hurt Fairbanks. And honestly, you could also hurt Chirinos, because what if that ball goes flying by and hits Chirinos too? Yeah. So it's Andy Fletcher's fault there. But ultimately, you got to see a little bit of that rivalry. That's great. You need that. And so many good things happen. I mean, David Peralta keeps raking, keeps giving you professional at-bats. Like, that's exactly what you want. You saw Siri having a tremendous game defensively and with the bat in this series. Randy Arozarena, big bomb on Sunday, a 3-run shot, but also still getting hits every game. So I think we saw a lot of completeness of team win mentality this weekend, which was really needed in the most crucial series of 2022.
And another guy that, again, I guess he's always going to be overlooked to some extent, Yu Chang. He was critical in this series in multiple facets. I mean, it's not always the flashy thing to move the runner over or get a sac fly, but he was sort of Siri's partner of, Siri gets to second or third, and Yu Chang's got his back there. At least on Saturday, that was the case. And, that's also good to see where in game two, where obviously Shane McClanahan bouncing back, but the Rays taking advantage and making the most, for the most part, of you've got a rookie pitcher making his MLB debut. You've got to work him out a little bit. You have to rough him up a little bit. And I don't know if he was quite ready for the big moment, DL Hall, and eventually the Rays chased him after 4 innings. So that was good to see going forward with that. We'll talk about this game a little bit more, or the series a little bit more, but before we do that, we have to tell you about LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonMLB. That's linkedin.com/lockedonMLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Ulises, I assume you watched most of, if not all of, the Drew Rasmussen outing?
100%. But before we focus on the Drew Rasmussen, thank you for calling, giving a shout out to Yu Chang.
Yeah,
because he does get lost in the mix, and he has been a very pleasant surprise, not only with the glove. I talked to Locked On Pirates host Ethan Smith, and also Jeff Ellis, Locked On Guardians host. Mm-hmm. They've had some experience with Yu Chang's play, and they said, glove first. Don't expect really much with the bat. In his last 15 games, this is his slash line for Yu Chang: 267, 320 on base, 444 slug. That's a 764 OPS.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take that. Very good. 2 bombs. And apparently he also throws 40-mile-an-hour EFAS pitches when you need him to do that as well. There's no Brett Phillips, so he can step in that role. You need. This is the thing about, if you're a Rays fan, you have to love this kind of not only acquisition, but the mantra of what the Rays stand for. It's every guy matters. It's not just one hero every night. It's Yu Chang one day, Jose Siri the next day, Randy Arozarena the next day. Mm-hmm. It just keeps rotating.
And this might have to be a conversation. It probably will be a conversation on another episode. But when Manny Margot, Wander Franco, and Harold Ramirez come back, the Rays are going to have some tough decisions to make. And as of right now, I think you got to keep Yu Chang around, but we'll get to that at a later point. So Drew Rasmussen, was there a moment where you thought he's going to complete either a no-hitter and or perfect game for the Rays?
Again, I've said this before in every episode, my no-hitter, my perfect game alert starts at pitch 1. I always focus in on that. Yeah. And so when it kept going, I was like, okay, 4 innings. When 4 innings are through, I'm like, this is nice. When 6 innings are done and you're going to start the 7th, I'm like, there's a shot. There's a real shot. This can happen. And then it kept going. And then in the 8th, that was really exciting. And I'm like, okay, the bottom of the order is up. You got to come through. And man, Mateo did not let us just enjoy it a little bit more. I think it was the first pitch. It wasn't even the second pitch of the at-bat. It was the first pitch. A hanging cutter. The guy did not make a single mistake the whole day. Drew didn't. And then the one mistake he does, Mateo hits it for a double. That's as A-Rod would say on Sunday Night Baseball. Baseball!
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Mateo's a damn good ball player. He has just come out from, when he got called up last year, I think by the Orioles, it was he's the next Pat Valaika. He's the next,
Felix PA.
Yeah, he basically they've kind of done a merry-go-round with shortstops, but he very well could win a Gold Glove, if not this year, in the future. And then you add in the speed and just the dynamic output that he provides, combined with Adley Rutschman and so many other ball players. Yeah. That's a big reason why have made such a transition this year is their infield defense. They were historically one of the worst infield defenses over the last handful of years. And if you look at their outs above average, last year, I think they were negative 27 outs above average. And this year they're +4, +5 outs above average. So that's quite a change that has been made there. And here's the other thing that I like about, obviously what Drew Rasmussen did on the whole, but And, maybe last year, if he did this against the Orioles, we'd say, oh, it's the Orioles. But you can't say that anymore. This is a legitimate ball club. It's not like he did it against the Tigers or pick a team that's a cellar dweller this year. So
I understand where you're going with this, but does Corey Kluber have a no-hitter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who it is against, what there was a good or bad team. I just think that
that's my point.
It probably
it
feels
was a horrible team.
Yeah.
It was the Texas Rangers of last year. So they were a horrible hitting ball club. So, but I'm saying, I understand where you're coming from, but at the end of the day, no hitter, perfect game, baby. That's what people will remember. They won't remember, oh, was that a good season for that team? Nah, man. A no hitter is a perfect game, whatever it is. And man, he was so close too. He was, and you felt the vibe at the Trop. Like, obviously, I wasn't in the game. You weren't in the game, but you could feel that energy from the blue seats, from our favorite blue seats. And I thought there was going to have some magic. We're going to see some magic there. And one cool thing I will say about Drew during this whole outing, he kept talking to his teammates, even though they would shy away from him. He was like, no, I'm not having that. Me, myself, and I in my own little bubble. No. McClanahan, talk to me.
Yeah.
Springs, talk to me. Like, that's cool. That's a little twist onto a perfect game that, you never really see that.
No, if that's what makes you comfortable, I'm all for it. I mean, if anything, the old, hey, we're going to ignore you treatment, that kind of puts more of a spotlight on you in a bad way and adds to the pressure. Whereas you're just acting like it's a normal ball game and you're joking with your teammates, like you're loose out there. And that's a huge, important thing. Do you know a little history lesson for Rays fans out there? Mini trivia here. Flip side, the Rays have been perfect gamed 3 times. Can you name those starting pitchers that did that against the Rays?
Mark Burley, 2009, Dallas Braden, 2010, Felix Hernandez, August 15th, 2012.
Yeah, so that's actually a 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
How about that?
That would have been sick. The last perfect game was against the Rays, and we had to wait 10 years, almost to the day, where almost a Rays pitcher could have thrown the perfect game. Yeah.
Now, not a perfect game, but a no-hitter that the Rays have had. Who was that?
Thrown by a Rays pitcher, you mean?
By a Rays pitcher.
Matt Garza, July, I'm going to say 17th, 2010.
Very close. July 26, 2010. Now, I will say the Rays did add the unofficial 7-inning doubleheader no back in 2021. I remember that myself, yourself, and Klosky had an argument about how impressive a feat that actually was. That was against the Cleveland Indians. Final thing, and then we'll move along here for our Yankee series preview. There were 5 Rays pitchers that combined for that 7-inning doubleheader no that is unofficial. Can you name those 5?
Fairbanks?
Yes.
I
will say 2 of these guys are no longer on the team. Well, no longer with the organization. Let me say that. 2 of these guys are no longer with the organization.
Lewis Head.
And
no longer with the Hunter Strickland.
Strike 2.
No longer with the organization. Is Sleggers with the? I think he's in AAA.
Man, I would have thought you would have gone a little bit more bold than that. I guess I should have given the date of when this occurred. Diego Castillo.
Oh, okay.
Colin McHugh.
Okay.
Josh Fleming. Josh Fleming, who pitched the most out of all those guys, 2 2/3 innings, and then Matt Whistler. So there it is.
Wow.
And the other funny thing about the Drew Rasmussen start was Topkin couldn't be there. So you had to know that he was so upset that he wasn't able to cover the game because he was on a flight or already in New York. Like, of all the games to be able to cover this season, he couldn't make that one. It was a freelancer who covered it.
Honestly, like that would kind of chap at me. You're
Yeah.
you're with this organization for what, 25 years, and you are going to miss the
Yeah.
one and only perfect game. Like, oof,
I think
pour one out for Mark.
secretly he kind of wished that it got broken up, because if that happened and he wasn't there to cover it, like, come on, that would have really been a beer
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe this could be a prop bet on BetOnline. Will the Rays pitcher have a no-hitter or perfect game before the season ends? That might be something to add.
That would be good. And you're right. BetOnline.net would be the fastest and easiest way to check in on that prop bet and all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right. The Rays have a 3-game series against the Yankees. As of right now, it's TBD versus Garrett Cole in game 1, Jeffrey Springs versus Nestor Cortez in game 2, and Corey Kluber versus Domingo Germán in game 3. Now, we know how good the Yankees have been for much of this season, but if there's a time to maybe pounce on them a little bit, even on the road, I would think it might be right now, considering that the Yankees, as of this recording, are 2-8 in their last 10 games. And to my understanding, they are without Giancarlo Stanton. They are without Matt Carpenter, and they are without who's the other guy that they acquired from the Cardinals, Harrison Bader. So 3 impactful players right there. And it's funny because the Yankees, I mean, since the beginning of August, they have yet to win a series. Mm-hmm. Again, we're recording at the time that they're playing the Red Sox right now. We don't know that
they're down.
That.
As we're recording, they're down 1-0 against the Red Sox. So
it's it's like it's so weird because the Yankees are like, okay, we're either going to score 9 runs or we're going to score 2 runs, and then they've won a lot of games by 1 run. It's been a lot of 1-run losses over this poor streak for them.
And so, yeah, you're right. If there's a time to meet the pinstripes, would be now. Of course, it would be at the Bronx. So that also brings a wrinkle, because the Rays are, I think, 6 games under 500 when they're playing on the road. So they got to step it up a little bit with that. But yeah, this is it. This is the plan. You're gonna miss their big boy stand. I think they have Andujar, Locastro, getting regular at bats at least during this series with the guys that they have hurt. So I mean, that's good. I mean, if Hicks is going to be a starting rotation on the starting lineup, like, that should bode well for you. I think, I don't know if we have, I think, a TBD against Cole, so that could be a bullpen game. That could be a Yarbrough opener situation. But Springs and Kluber, I'm hopeful with Springs. He's looked really great this season. Kluber, that would be I don't know where I want to land with Kluber, because on the one hand, they have the book on him. He was in their organization, so it's not going to be a surprise.
That was part of the reason probably why Kluber, and he's been on a slide as of late, but why he maybe struggled against the Orioles too. I think that was his 6th time facing the Orioles this season. Like, that's a lot, even against a division rival. I mean, 6 times in 1 year.
It's tough. It's tough. You're gonna see the what you would call it, the arm slot. What they're gonna throw at you. You have video of them throwing to you. So it's going to get tough. But I think with Kluber, he's been really unlucky, though. Like, when you see his starts, there are just some balls that are just finding the shortstop hole. They're just getting like Texas bloopers in. Like, I remember, I think maybe 4 starts ago, maybe 5 starts ago, a play in the outfield. I think Brett Phillips and somebody else just kind of didn't talk to each other and let it became a double or a triple. Like, he has had these unlucky bounces. So it does inflate what the line says, but overall I think he has pitched well. And so that's on the one hand. They have the book on him, so I don't know where land. The other one is, this isn't an Excel macro sheet. We're not just going to hit start and then the results will come into play, like some fans want to pretend that's what baseball is. It's human beings. So maybe him being back in the Bronx, he wants to show up, again against his former team. There's a matter of a competitor, and so you want to bet on that guy too. So those are the two little sections that you could go with Kluber. So pick your spot if you're a Rays fan, and if you want to be optimist, go to the second one, and if you want to be a warrior and be stressed out, then pick the first one. That's certainly everybody's choice.
Aaron Judge has 46 home runs this season. He's on pace for 66 home runs.
Yep.
Does he break Roger Maris's single season record of 61 homers in a Yankees uniform? Maris did that in 1961, by the way. Does Judge get 62 or more this season?
God, it looks that way. I mean, it looks that way, that he's on his way. But again, is he going to get hurt?
He stayed healthy. It is a contract year. It is.
I mean,
He'll play with one arm and one leg if it comes to that.
I think he would too.
If he breaks the record, the
money.
Yankees have to sign him, right? They have to unload the Brinks truck. You can't play this small market baseball of letting Aaron Judge walk.
No, you can't do that. But if I'm Aaron Judge, I would kind of, I'm the stud in the ballroom. I'm going to talk to all the girls. I'm going to see what they have to say. I'm going to, let Artie Moreno, take you out to the best.
Sign him too. I mean, he is from California, and I mean, Artie Moreno just loves handing out $300 million deals to ball players. But it is
wooed.
Huge.
If I'm Aaron, get wooed. Go to Anaheim, and then go to have some lunch with Magic Johnson and the Dodgers. Go everywhere. I mean, go to Houston.
Well, my point.
Why not?
My point is that I wonder if. I mean, obviously, you want all your players to be successful, but if the Yankees ownership and/or front office is secretly hoping that Aaron Judge doesn't hit 62 homers or 61 homers, because you can't come back to your fan base and say, "Yeah, we're not re-signing him."
Depends, though, right? Because they have a limit. I would think that the Yankees have. I know, but even the Yankees, they must, even though they shouldn't. Hear me out. Yeah. Even though they shouldn't, they probably have a limit on both things: years and money, total money. So which one is it going to break? Because maybe a crazy owner, like an Artie Moreno, or insert any other owner, Jim Crane, they might be, you know what? Oh, the Yankees are offering you $320 for 10 years. Here's $350 for 10. And now, what do the Yankees do if that was their line? If 320 was like, oh God, do we go? Do we say yes?
Maybe.
I mean, it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get. I would think that regardless, I think the Yankees have to bring him back just because.
I think so too.
That franchise, but maybe you get really not creative, but you don't structure a 10-year deal, 8-year deal. That's just foolishness. But 5-year deal for $275. Just saying, give him a $50 million AAV, something along those lines. I don't know.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, I think that would be the Carlos Correa, the Max Scherzer, the who must not be named, Trevor Bauer type agreements. I don't know why more people don't want to do that. I know the security and all that, but damn, are you serious with that annual average value? That would be insane. 50 a year.
But it is Aaron Judge. Judge. one last thing real quickly on Aaron Judge. Do you think he'll get to, speaking of long-term contracts, do you think he'll get to 400 home runs in his career? Is that 204 right now? Okay.
Yes, easy.
Then I think that's the answer, that you unload the Brinks truck for him in some sort of form or fashion. So
again, it would be beneficial for any AL East team in the long term if they sign him. In the short term, it's going to suck. But when he starts to age, when he starts to break down, and they can get the new shiny toy, good.
Yeah. And
Stick
you know
with
what?
The Aaron Judge. Yeah.
The Yankees are probably ecstatic that they have in the future, beginning in 2023, they'll have 5 less games to face against the Rays. So that means less action on the Trop turf and so on there. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Tuesday.